Okay, I think we're ready to start. So welcome to today's webinar. It's a pleasure that you are joining us. Before we start, I just wanted to give you some quick housekeeping rules. So if you joined us, you are on mute, so we can't hear you. So if you have any questions, there should be a chat box on the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to type in any questions during the course of the webinar, and towards the end, we'll be answering them. Also, if you have questions, further questions later on that you have, please feel free to email me, Wouter, or Jake, and you will find our contact details on the last slide. So I will switch slides. And during our webinar today, we will be providing you with an introduction to ADvendio, to Salesforce, to 201 Connected Media, and how we work together, and a brief introduction to the retail media industry, a live demo of ADvendio retail media, and we'll finish with some shared best practices and a Q&A session. So next slide. For anyone on the webinar today who is not familiar with ADvendio, I will just give you a quick overview of who we are and what we do. ADvendio is the revenue management solution tool to support your advertising transactions since 2004. We are headquartered in Germany, and we have regional offices all over the world, like Chile, Dublin, Paris, London. We are a native Salesforce app, allowing companies to extend their workflow within their current Salesforce org to encompass the full advertising sales process, from booking to invoicing, including functionalities to support programmatic advertisement, a self-service portal, and even media buying. We also support all different media channels. Now, of course, you might be asking why 3 different people from 3 different companies are joining, and the answer is very simple. Customers made us work together, where Salesforce is the backbone CRM system in which ADvendio is built on and thrives on. We are not just integrated, but we are organically grew within the Salesforce environment over the past 16 years to cover your very specific media needs. All the ADvendio functionalities are seamlessly visually integrated into the standard Salesforce CRM. And of course, Salesforce will give us all the necessary functionalities to support all the CRM capabilities that are needed for ADvendio. And who is Wouter? Who is 201 Connected Media? Well, they are the ones that know the retail media market. They are the ones that know all the customers and how they work. And Wouter and his team have done many implementations for customers such as Albert Heijn, who is also known as Ahold, and they share best practices within the industry. So at this point, I'm gonna switch slides and pass you on to Jake from Salesforce, and he's gonna do a quick introduction as well. Jake?
Super. Thanks for the introduction, Rob. Yeah, good to say hello to everybody on the call. Brief introduction. My name is Jake McManus. I'm a Salesforce account executive here in the UK, working with our retail customers. I want to give you some quick context around the ADvendio and Salesforce relationship for those of you who are on the call. The slide in front of you is an overview of the Salesforce 360 platform. And Salesforce built the 360 platform to help companies transform their businesses, to deliver the digital experiences that customers and employees need today, and today probably in the context of everything that's going on more than ever. The 360 platform from Salesforce is an integrated CRM platform that unites marketing, sales, commerce, service, and IT departments. Our platform allows your company, no matter what size, to build amazing experiences for your customers. And that's what we're set out to do. Because we're so passionate about customer success, we have since inception allowed companies like ADvendio and other third parties to develop their applications directly on our platform, which means then our customers benefit from the fact that they can download these applications from the App Exchange and begin using them immediately without needing to integrate them or connect with APIs. They're natively hosted on the same platform, and the App Exchange today has more than 4,000 enterprise applications listed on the site. This is going to allow you as a retailer to access more capability and functionality to serve your customers better, and it reduces complexity in the back end to do so. And the reason I suppose that I'm on the call today is I've been working with some of the largest retailers in the UK, with ADvendio and with Media 2 or Connected Media 201, because there's a clear benefit that this solution provides to my customers to help them recognize a revenue stream that Salesforce not typically is involved in these conversations. So this has been really educational for me personally and with some of my customers. I think you're going to be really excited by the demo that Wouter has to take through in a moment. So I'll hand over to Wouter and enjoy the rest of the call.
Great, Jake. It was a very nice introduction. So thanks for that. So my name is Wouter Hilst from 201 Connected Media. And basically, over the last 12 years, we've helped many media companies navigating the digital landscape, supporting them in their programmatic growth, in their additional revenue sources. And we do that for both broadcasters, publishers, and retail companies. So on the next slide, we are happy to show you some of those companies we've been working for. In retail specifically, we've been very proud to be working with the Zalando team over 3 to 4 years ago, creating the Zalando Media Solutions organization, which is now a serious business for Zalando internally. We also worked with the largest Dutch e-commerce platform, still is, our local bol.com, and also with Ahold, which is in the Benelux, the biggest retailer we have. But we've been working also with gaming companies like Speelgames and ESL. We've been working with broadcasters from RTL to MTG, and we've working with a lot of print publishers from Prisa in Spain all the way up to Sanoma in Finland. So learned a lot about different media services, and not only digital but also print, also demos, also loyalty systems, and we're trying to combine all that knowledge to support retail media companies a little bit more in these times. So on the next slide, you see a little bit of our philosophy and why we're using the Salesforce platform together with ADvendio, and yeah, why we have done now over 15 implementations over the last couple of years. First of all, in the top right corner at 1 o'clock, we are focusing the Salesforce platform to make sure that you can collaborate on your media sales. There's a lot of people involved, especially in retail, from your brand management to your marketing to your PR to your fulfillment. So we just have to make sure that all those people are on the same platform, sharing the same information in real time. So we spend a lot of time to making sure that the right teams have access to the right information and can act on that information directly. And then basically we go through the annual sales process within the media companies, retail companies. First of all, we see in retail specifically that there's a lot of annual agreements. At the beginning of the year, if you're a big retailer and you have a 100 million deal with Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola will say, okay, I'm going to give you 2 million in advertising spend. And make sure you promote our brand within your retail environment. And that's what we call annual agreements. And I will show you a little bit later how we manage those and how we track to those agreements. Second of all, anybody can start a new flight. Use case might be that your Coca-Cola product manager or brand manager is working with Coca-Cola to introduce a new packaging format for week 44. At that stage, your brand manager will start the activities around supporting marketing material on that week for Coca-Cola. The other things might also be right. Coca-Cola sales might be behind, and Coca-Cola themselves is going on the platform to basically request more media spent in a specific week or at a specific location. So both everybody in the team can start, launch, or approve activities on the platform. Those activities on the fourth bucket will then lead to a campaign, and a campaign is basically defined as something which needs to happen. It can be demos within the store, it can be digital advertising on the websites or in the apps, it can be digital out of home on the outside of the retail store. But at the end of the day, something has been ordered by an advertiser or a brand and needs to be executed and checked against inventory. So we just make sure that there's inventory and the inventory is blocked at the right time. And then it goes to the next step, which is the operationals management. We all know that it's quite some time to make sure that the right people and the right marketing material is at the right time, at the right store location or warehouse location. So everything which is being booked or planned in campaign management, we basically break down in different actions to ensure that the right information and the right materials are heading to the right warehouses, out to the right retailers in the right time. Of course, we cannot make it physically happen. We all understand that. But the collaborative platform like Salesforce helps us to make sure that everybody in the chain understand what needs to be done when. Finally, this is all nice, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that that revenue which is committed by Coca-Cola also hits your P&L and your accounting at the right time. So because everybody is on the same platform and we manage the end-to-end process, we are sure that finance gets the data they need to invoice the clients, to take the revenue, and to make the balance sheet adjustments accordingly. So it's a full circle where it started and ended with people, of course, manage annual contracts, where we collaborate with your brands online, and where we execute, operate, and invoice and control the revenue. So on the next slide, why do we think it's important for retailers? And some other publishers don't like it so much. But what Google started 20 years ago, advertising at the important decision moments where people searching for specific products. Amazon, of course, went in and put it even further on steroids with their own e-commerce platform. But we see globally that there is smart retailers who are now also tapping into this advertising revenue stream to support marketeers to advertise exactly on the same time, on the right time to their users whilst they're making purchases. So we see a big growth market here, and we are super happy and excited to work with Jake and Rob from ADvendio to see if we can scale this further for retail media companies. That was the end of my beautiful slides. Thanks for listening and hearing me out. But I think it's super cool to go through the live demo. So Rob, if you can switch, thank you, Rob. Switch presenter mode to me, which I'm now doing. And if the technology works fine, then you should now see my Salesforce screen for the first time. I will break up this demo in 3 to 4 areas. The first area I will explain you a little bit about what you're looking at. It's a big screen. There's a lot of information, so I'll take you through this screen slowly. Always difficult for me personally, but I will try to do it slowly. Then we will go through the flow. So looking at a brand, looking at campaigns, and looking at the self-service portal, how people can use it themselves. And finally, I will bring you quickly through the invoicing and the reporting activities, so you really understand that the circle we just showed you, actually, we can demo alive in the platform and in the environment. So this is a standard Salesforce application where ADvendio has been installed on top of that standard Salesforce environment. So as Rob said earlier, it's fully integrated within Salesforce. The technology is all Salesforce. There's no 201 in there. There's no ADvendio in there. It's on the Salesforce platform, but the partners make the Salesforce platform much more secure, stable, and scalable. And in this case, specifically for retail media. So I've put some graphs, beautiful colors, on my home screen, on my dashboard, where I can see, okay, how many media campaigns I've done so far. Well, I'm not doing that well, but it's the early of the year. But as you can see, we have almost 400K in booked revenue, and in this demo environment, we have 50K in IO received. We've got some contact reports. That's quite nice if you have an outbound campaign by your salespeople to make sure that if we talk to clients, then we record that and we capture activities on top of that. As you can see, we have at this moment 2.6 million in commitment. And commitment, that's our name for the annual agreements. And I want to quickly go back to that again to make the point. And those are the agreements where you have a trading deal with Coca-Cola. And again, part of the trading deal is a marketing budget, which you need to execute within your own retail environment. And that's what we call commitments. Normally they happen at the beginning of the cycle, normally at the beginning of the year. And in this case, we've seen that we have got 2.6 million committed, of which in this case almost 2 million in display advertising and 700K in demos. That's all nice, but how is revenue going? And that's of course on the same platform. So here you can see some demo data about our revenue forecast. As you can see, in April, in this case, we're expecting a total of 250,000 in revenue. Well, for retailers, of course, that's nice, but you definitely at this stage want to break it down per brand category. So in this case, we have a little bit in April, a little bit ice cream, probably because of the weather, a little bit more in personal healthcare, and quite a chunk of money in soft drinks. So all the data topics we do for retail specifically, we break them down in your categories, and we can go as deep as you want, all the way down to SKU level. But normally you want in your dashboarding, of course, want to see it per category. So if I'm the category manager for ice creams, of course, I'm only interested in all this data related to ice creams. And that's perfectly fine. That's a filtering we can apply. And of course, that user will only see ice cream. Then we also want to go look forward, revenue forecasting we've implemented. So while the revenue is looking back, of course, we also have forecasting capabilities on how good we do think we will be doing in the next couple of periods. Finally, and again, this is just some demo data, you might want to look at an expense forecast per product. For example, if you have, if you're selling in-store demos, you might have, of course, a cost to that. It's costing, of course, money to put people physically in stores and handing out new products. So here you will see the total amount of revenue you've done in that specific media category, how much expenses you have gathered, and what's your total amount due. So we're managing expenses and we're managing revenue as well. That's a little bit on the dashboard. Now we move on to the top navigation, which is always bringing you back to where you need to be. So first of all, we're touching upon accounts and contacts and contact reports. That is all a classic Salesforce functionality. Accounts will tell you something about your companies all the way with their hierarchy, where Unilever Holding is broken down by Unilever household products, I don't know, drinking stuff, etc., etc. So all the way you would traditionally integrate with your CRM, other, especially for the US, relevant in which region, in which category, in which territory. So all the way down to whatever you want to do. Contacts are people from flesh and blood normally, and of course they work with the companies, but that's great for activity management, where we come into later. So you know which user should be connected to which activity. Next topic is contact reports. The contact reports basically give you some insights in what the activity has been with your clients in any form or matter you want to work on that. Then we come to commitments, and commitments we discussed earlier, as you know, on this beautiful chart. Commitments are, again, your annual agreements you have with your brands as a retailer, capturing the revenue or the marketing spend they're going to do within your platform. Briefings are a little bit different. Briefings often are the start of something actual. So assuming, again, Coke wants to introduce a new packaging on the West Coast of the US, the brand manager would just fill out a briefing to make sure that the media team can create a specific marketing plan for that launch. Of course, the brand manager can do it themselves, but practically, we often see that the brand manager have more important stuff to do than creating media campaigns. So often you see that the marketing team is doing that themselves. Then we come to media campaign, and actually that's where the logic and all the flavors happening. That is actually the orders which actually are executed. That will support that on week 44 of 2020, Coca-Cola will have demo days in 100 stores on the West Coast of the US, for example. Then there's a lot of other tabs which we go into a little bit later, but just to prep you for the end of my demo, which will be another 20 minutes, we go all the way down to invoices and reports. So whatever has been agreed with the client, executed by the operations team, of course, needs to be invoiced as well, or sometimes netted, right? Often we see retailers don't actually invoice the media spend, but they just deduct it from the money which is already on the bank, and that's normally referred to as netting. So having said that, I will now go basically through a sales process with you over the next 15 minutes to get a view on, okay, this is all nice, Wouter, but how does it look in practice? So let's start exploring a little bit on the accounts and take our beloved Unilever as an example. So here we have the Unilever holding, and if you hover over to this small icon, you can see the account hierarchy. So we have Unilever holding. Part of that is beauty and personal care, foods, home care, and refreshments. And you can go all the way up, all the way down. I can imagine that you have different territories with different company names. Now we move over to the right, and we can see that we can put contacts in there and advertiser brands. But let's look at one of the real companies, because of course this is the holding company. So let's go to beauty and personal care. And again, this is a demo environment, so not everything is in there. But we can see we have a contact there. She's called Barbara Dove. Well, that's a great email. But also we have advertising brands here. And as we all know, Dove is a Unilever brand. They have multiple brands, of course, globally. And you can assign, of course, those brands to that advertiser. Why is that important? Because as you can see, Dove also has a category. And this is important because in retail, we normally see that the accounts don't define revenue and how activity is reported, but the categories are defining that, right? So Dove we have classified as personal healthcare in that category. And if I go to that category, I will have a category manager, in this case as a test at Best Way. He's called Flip Dove. I'm not sure who that is. I've got a category ID, etc., etc. So it is quite critical that on the account level, especially for retail, we break it all the way down to advertised brands, as we call them, like Dove. And we go further down to make sure that we understand that that brand belongs to a specific category. We have retail clients who even go further on SKU level, or on if a brand is too wide, you can of course go all the way down until you come down to the individual SKU of that specific product. Why we do this? Because then we can report, of course, on it later. In this case, we have had one contact with Unilever, talked to Robert on Unilever last time. So let's take a look at what Robert talked about. He talked to Sun Whirlpool. I'm not sure who that is, but he or she should be perfect. It was today. It was over the phone because we still are in COVID period. And we talked about in-store demo and print. Of course, we can assign any actions to this contact report, asking a brand manager to contact Sun, or asking a media planner to create a campaign. But this is just to make sure that people know what's going on. And of course, we distribute this contact report to the relevant people in the team. Well, having said that, of course, if people don't fill out the reports, we all know, then nothing happens. But I think that's also a matter of focus from the sales management team. So that is a little bit about the CRM information, contacts and contact reports. And the beauty about the Salesforce platform is you can integrate it with any other platform which takes your leads from the site. You have chat integrations. You have so many applications on the App Store which further enrich this whole account, contacts, and contact report level. But let's now dive into the revenue stuff. So first, as we said earlier, let's talk a little bit about commitments. And let's look at the Coca-Cola agreement. As you can see, it's in the negotiation. And this basically says, okay, Coca-Cola has for this year agreed to spend £650,000 or dollars, whatever you want, of course, within this retailer in media spend. And that's probably agreed on at the early of the year. And Coca-Cola said, okay, I'm going to spend 650,000 euros in marketing media with you. But of course, I don't want to pay the ticket price. I want a little bit discount on your normal media rate card. So in this case, they've broken it down. They said, okay, we expect 250,000 euros in in-store demos because we're launching some new Coke Zero packaging. So we're going to spend 250,000 there, and then the retailer said, okay, then I'm going to offer you 10% discount on our rate cards. They also want to do quite some display activity, so they said, okay, you get 20% on display if you spend 400K on display. So commitments are a super flexible way to make sure that whatever your brand management has discussed with their vendors, you can bring it in. You can bring it in scaled, so the more Coke spent, the higher the discount is. You can make it sometimes free, so if they spend 10, they get the 11th euro or dollar for free. So you have a high level of flexibility, which is important for your commercial teams to basically document the commercial agreement you have with your brands. You can do it on holding level. Coca-Cola will have multiple accounts and multiple brands. So you can also say, okay, another company can pitch into the same accounts. So often what we see is we also see distributors, local distributors, to be part of this. And then you can say, okay, this is a distributor and it is relevant for Heineken and Pepsi and I don't know, Mars ice cream, whatever. So you're super flexible to make sure that whatever agreements your brand managers make with their brands, we can document it in a very structured way. But let's now look at briefing. So let's now assume that the Coca-Cola brand manager gets a call and they want to plan something. So launch of Coke Zero 2.0. It's a new brand. You guys don't know yet. I know it. It will be launched in the 22nd of June. It is, of course, for the Coca-Cola company. It is for Coca-Cola drinks. There's no agency involved. The goal is to sell more drinks. Budget is 100,000 pounds here. And they said, I want to do in-store this, and I want to do some loyalty stuff as well. So basically, this is being saved and created by the brand manager or by the client themselves. And then it comes to the media team who's going to convert it into a media campaign. And again, and hopefully you're still with me, but media campaigns are basically then stuff which is really going to happen. So to give you an example, we have a May campaign here from Unilever with all the contact information, who's the brand, when is it, and you can see here in the campaign items, those are the products Unilever has bought in this campaign. So I just want to make sure that you understand what a media campaign is. It's basically a flight from an advertiser, and it can have multiple products. So in this case, they go in store, they have a magazine back page, and they do some online activities. But it's of course quite boring if we do it as a retailer. It is much better actually if an advertiser or a brand does it themselves. But as you can see here, there's a lot of information here, which of course we need to simplify for the client. And that's where Salesforce Community comes in. So this is the UI, and maybe it doesn't look so brilliantly, but well, I love the color green, so get that by now. But basically, whatever data and whatever objects you have defined here in your own Salesforce environment, you can basically expose to the outside world, specifically, of course, for example, Unilever, where they see the same information as you have about their own accounts. Of course, not about the competition, but they can see only the data they should be seeing. And we can use Chatter, which is the chat function of Salesforce to communicate. They can look at their own account information. Advertisers or brands can update their own contacts, which is super handy sometimes. They can look at their commitments, and what we discussed earlier. I said I'm going to do 650,000 euros. How much did I already spend? They can create campaigns. They can look at the campaigns which are relevant for them. And of course, in this case, it's only the Unilever campaigns. And this is exactly the same information as you see internally. It's not a copy. It's not like a different platform. It is actually exactly the same platform So anytime you create something here, it will be reflected internally because it's the same information. But let's say we create a campaign. So we have an active Unilever brand manager who wants to do something for Dove, and he wants to do some display advertise. Oh, there it is, display or in store or some print. Let's assume display. I'm a digital guy. I like display. Do some display information. In the platform, we currently only have one ad, a rectangle from 300 by 250 pixels. But of course, you can have your demo days here. You can have your print products in here. You can have your in-store materials here, your demo days, your digital out of home, whatever you want, your loyalty emails you can put up in here. Coke wants to start on the 15th and run it for 2 weeks, and they want to spend 100,000 on their budget. Hits next, and they're done. So this is basically how they can order, and there's a lot of information here, which of course we can tweak, but this is basically how easy it is in 3 steps for them to order. And then of course, which is super important, look at all the campaigns they have currently running. Because a big brand will have a lot of campaigns running, and of course needs to balance it out towards the promotional spend, etc., etc. So there's a lot of insights given here. Finally, on this self-service portal, which I want to show you, is we can also bring them into the actions. So every product we are selling, sometimes there has to be stuff created, right? So in this case, they have some activities on their end which they need to be doing. So creation of the marketing materials, whether it's again for print or for digital or for digital out of home or for demo days, the workflow is the same. So we can easily bring in clients into this workflow. Nothing fancy. Security is managed by Salesforce. We just create their users and their accounts, and they can start collaborating online. Not in a different tool, but actually in the same tool you're using with exactly the same information. So also super easy for them. They have all their invoices, and they can see the status of their own invoices. They get the same messages your finance team gets if invoices are late. So it's super strong. It's just quite new from the Salesforce platform in ADvendio, but we're super excited that it's so easy to show your clients the same information if you want to, of course, as you have internally, to spend the times with clients on generating new activity instead of just giving them information they should be having. So I'm going to flick back to my internal platform, my Salesforce platform. And if I now look at the media campaigns for Unilever, you see there's a little bit more media campaigns here, right? So it's exactly the same information. But let's go back to our campaign, which we've created and looked at earlier. This one, Unilever campaign, is set to booked. That means that it's all good to go. And as you can see, we have 4 products in here which are relevant. But if I open a product, actually, there's quite some stuff which is happening. Oh, wrong product. I'm super sorry. I cannot skip a live demo. That's always a little bit tricky. Let's then take the newest one we have created. So this is the one we just created in the self-service portal for 100,000 euros, right? If I put that to booked, so I'm saying this is all good, you're good to go, then it's perfectly fine. So what happens now in practice is that if I open up the campaign item people have created, you see something new happening. You see there's advertising materials here which help you managing the execution. So in this case, the order has been booked, put in as an advertising order. But stuff needs to happen because this is for an online display campaign, which is starting on the 15th of June, right? So in the platform, you can quite easily create all the steps which you need to do internally to make sure that you can hit that 15th of June deadline. So as a demo, we've said 5 days before, we need to define which SKUs are relevant for this ad. So the redirect link is going to the right information. 3 days later, we need to make sure that the material is created, and 1 day before go live, we need to make sure that we upload the material into the platform. And of course, this is super simplified. There's many more steps, and many steps are in parallel. But you get the point that as soon as a product is being booked, we can automatically generate activity, which we can then put in a workflow to share with clients. On that piece, we do something else. Some of that activity has an external cost. For example, if you are putting a demo demo stands into your warehouse, and you need to create 25 demo stands, that might have a cost. That cost is managed in the same way. So if we create an activity for something which is costing you out-of-pocket money, we assign it to a vendor, and we assign it to a cost. So we have the cost of production, the revenue of the media, all in the same place, so we can report on it super structured. And that is on the advertising materials once it's booked. And then to the previous campaign to show you some about the invoicing. So let's assume this Unilever May campaign, and that's why I didn't have any activity anymore, because it's done, it's booked, it's even invoiced. So this media campaign is now completely invoiced, all running from the same data. And it has created an invoice for, in this case, £25,000, 20,000 pounds in net. I applied, I'm sorry, the 21% Dutch tax. I was not thinking about the UK tax. So the total amount was £25,000. It's currently unpaid. So this is typically your view for your finance teams, who can see on, of course, client level, what amount is due in what time. And we can even generate the invoice directly from the platform. Although practically, you will probably send this invoice information to your finance team, because all the big retailers, of course, have your own invoicing platforms. But again, you can use the ADvendio application and customize the screen completely to send the invoice directly to your clients, or use it for netting purposes. That is, I think, what I wanted to show. So going back to the home page, what I try to explain in these 25 minutes is that we have, of course, the power and the strength of the CRM platform from Salesforce. We can manage your agreements your brand managers make with your brands. We can facilitate the communications in any way you want between your brands, your client, and your media team. At the end of the day, that results in a media campaign created by your client or internally, and that then goes into a production flow to make sure that the advertising materials are created and that the invoices are sent. And even not only the invoices, but also the revenue bookings. For example, if you can see here, the magazine back page here, it runs from June to October. Not sure that makes sense, but this runs for 4 months. We have 10,000 euros in revenue. So your accounting system will get an accounting record for June, July, August, September, and October, right? So we will break down the revenue exactly into the right periods, whether you use calendar month or many retailers use 4 or 5 sequences. You can all manage that directly from the Salesforce platform. So having said that, Rob, I would love to go open for questions. I see we have a lot of attendees, so that is super excited. If you stepped in late, some people came in late. The ADvendio team has been so nice to create a recording of this, which of course will be distributed after the demo is created. But Rob, can you let me know if there's any questions so far from the team?
Hi there. Yes, sorry, I just unmuted my button. So yeah, sure. We have a couple of questions, and one question that was previously already asked is, can I integrate my self-service portal into my local website?
Yeah, basically, and I'm not a website specialist, but you could see it as a kernel of data and information. So yeah, you can completely integrate it with your website. Maybe even more relevant, you can integrate it with your security platform. So if you already have brands connected to you, or they already have accounts to your organization for other systems, we can also integrate there. So yeah, definitely the client doesn't feel anything about it. It's a different platform. You can customize it from a website perspective and an app perspective, of course, and also integrate it into your security setup, so people don't have to sign up again, but you can just deploy a new services to those clients.
And we have another question. I will try to answer that one. So can we integrate with, for example, Google Ad Manager for digital assets or out of home? So yes, we can. So ADvendio is connected to 13 plus ad servers out of the box. So you can log in with your credentials and you have a straight connectivity with those ad servers. We also support programmatic ad servers. Anything else would you like to add, Wouter?
Especially for the US, we've been working with esports companies. What is important in those ad server integrations, which is the strength also to the platform, is quite good ability to also manage different time zones within your platform. So normally all those systems have one default time zone. But of course, if you want to sell ads from Monday to Friday, whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, you need to break that down. So all the integrations are there, and especially for US-based countries, it also solves a general ad serving problem to manage your time zones quite easily across the platform.
Sure. I think there's two more questions. One more question: is it possible to see how programmatic ad would work on the platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not in this demo, but actually ADvendio ran a programmatic a demo yesterday. Keep me honest, Rob, but I think there's a programmatic demo run yesterday, and I'm quite sure that the team can make sure that you guys get the YouTube link, how that exactly works. In principle, we try to treat this as just another campaign, but sold through or bought actually through another channel. So we try to bring back the Unilever programmatic revenue under the Unilever account. So the brand manager from Unilever has one central view on what Unilever is doing, whether it's programmatic, direct, or I don't care, through the fax machine. So definitely that's something possible. But again, please take a look at the demo ADvendio ran, I think yesterday, on programmatic.
Yes, so just to specify, we have a demo happening on the 17th of June on programmatic. So I will send you all the details so you can join if you have time, and if not, then we'll provide you with the recording. And also we have one last question: is if I have missed parts of the demo today, can I watch the recording? And the answer is yes. So we have the recording, and we will be sharing the recording with you hopefully in a day or so, and we'll send that to your email address. I think this has been all the questions. If anybody wants to ask some more questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box. Yeah, I think these were all the questions then. So thank you very much for joining us in today's webinar, and Wouter, thank you very much for giving us such a detailed introduction into the world of retail media. And Jake, thank you very much for giving us an introduction on Salesforce, and we hope you liked the webinar, and we'll send you the further details on the recordings and on the future webinars. Thank you very much for joining.
Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.